I've been having some really busy times because I started working on Saturdays, and so I do the pop-up 2 days. So it's a Chef Glam weekend, y'all. There's Friday nights and there's Saturday mornings. So because of that, I've been really busy. So the Saturday mornings is more like a pudding and sauce brunch vibe, whereas the Friday night is the island vibes menu. So that said, I haven't really been able to do video as I would like, but I have been cooking up a storm. I will put some pictures of some of the food that I've been cooking, and today I'm going to be making some curry beef. I'm probably going to make some roti skins too, quick. Not no proper special roti skins like how people, you know, Trinis are very stiff and proper when it comes to what is roti, but more so just some roti skins like how I feel like. And I just want to show you all the process. Okay, so to start, I'm gonna be making some seasoning. Here I have some ginger. It came from my garden, y'all. I made my own, well, I grew my own ginger. This is just ginger and water mixed up. I'd be using it like to make tea and stuff. That's why it looked like that. I just wanted to grind up some quick so that I can make tea quickly in the morning, but I'm gonna be using some of it in my seasoning. There is the ginger plant. I have it here in this blue bottle. It's just the stalk, but I thought it was pretty, and I put it here next to my other little planties. I root them and then I plant them outside. These are just what is something of India? I can't remember the name properly. It has a white one, and now I have this one here. Yeah, but see, this is ginger. It's probably gonna die soon, but the point is I thought it was pretty and I put it in a bottle. Alright, so here inside the bowl, can you guess what we have? We've got onions. I don't have a lot of them today, so I'm only using 2. I've got some flavor peppers. I'm using 6 of them. I've got, so it's basically a favorite pepper-based seasoning. I've got 1 riri pepper. Don't mind it shaped not like a cherry, it's a riri pepper. This is scallions. And remember, scallions and chives are not the same thing. What Beijing calls seasoning is scallions, right? Chives have a different flavor. And then lastly, we've got some garlic here. Right? I'm gonna blend together everything but the pepper. I'm not sure how hot this is, so I'm gonna taste it first. It is a bit hot, but it's not a killer, so I'm going to use half of it inside the seasoning, and then the other half I'll just add it to my curry as I go along. Look, I even have a coconut from my brother today. Life in the tropics. Forgive me with these shadows, it's because of the time. So to make sure that I get pure flavor, instead of using vinegar or water, I'm going to be using, well, I'm going to use some water too, but I'm going to be using some olive oil. So it's going to be olive oil and water that I use, so the seasoning is going to have a little bit of a cloudy look to it. Okay, so now we have the finished seasoning. I did not put the ginger in it. I'll be adding the ginger separately because I don't always want to use ginger in my seasoning. And here I have 2 kilograms of stew beef. It looks mostly lean. I got it from Western Wholesale in case you wanted to know where I got it from. So I'm going to be putting it into this big stainless steel bowl and seasoning it now. Alright, so we've got now the seasoning I made. We've got the beef, we can throw some of that in there. And believe it or not, folks, the flavor pepper, as much as I put in there, it's still gonna taste different when I put the actual flavor pepper. So I might actually put some actual pieces of flavor pepper in there as well a little bit later. And I'm just gonna be adding some ginger to this. And as I told you, this is just ginger and water. Alright. And this beef, it does have a little bit of fat on it, but it is mostly lean. And of course, you have to wear gloves to do this. I just like to keep washing my hands all the time, and I'm cooking for home right now, but yeah, you can just get gloves. Okay. This has no salt in it as yet, so you're just going to taste it to see how strong it is. It's strong, but it still is not hot. So remember I told y'all I had the other half of the riri pepper. So I'm just gonna take that up, disperse that in there, And I'm just gonna let that marinate for a little bit, and I'm gonna be adding the curry now, which I'm gonna do with this spoon here, because I don't want my nails, see, this here could wash off, but I don't want my fabulous blue nails to be currified. All right, so I'm putting in some salt in here now. I'm not gonna over salt it, so that's enough for now, because I'll add more salt later on. And if we were making a stew, we could leave this right here. I got an old beef stew recipe. It's not gonna be on this page, it's gonna be on my Rebel Glam Productions channel. That channel has a lot of subscribers, but YouTube doesn't let it get a lot of views because they take a long time to put videos on it. But you should go check it out and check out my song Soul Sale that I told you all about in the lentils video. The lentil video had a bit of noise in it, I'm sorry about that, but I'd rather just blog and get some of the videos up just because of how YouTube is. But this one here, I'm trying to behave good in it. My kids out here watching the TV with no noise and all kind of things, so the sacrifices that we've made for y'all are intense. Alright, and I've got this big bag of curry here, botanic curry powder. I like to use both curry powder and turmeric, but I don't have any turmeric today. So I'm going to be putting in some curry powder in here. And you know, you have a tendency when you got enough to use enough. So try not to put too much in right away. You can always add some more if you want some more color or some more flavor. But you know, we have a lot of flavor going on here already because we have a full seasoning already made. Good. And we're just covering that all with the curry. And with curry, you have to decide which direction you want to go. Some people take a coconut direction with curry. A lot of the Indian restaurants and so you see they put coconut milk and so. Caribbean people not so much. Then there's the other approach where you can do like the jeera, which is cumin, and have a heavy cumin. Like for instance, if you eat all beef roti from Chefette compared to the chicken roti, I find the beef roti or having like more cumin, I think. And then it's darker too. I think people like to do the curries based on how the meat looks sometimes. But you know, like for instance, you don't really curry fish with a lot of cumin because cumin is a strong flavor. So with this one, I have to decide, do I just want it to be plain or do I want to have a direction with it? But the direction I want to go this time is more of a spice direction. I'm thinking a little cardamom and a little bit of cinnamon just to give it a little bit of perfume. But I'm going to put those things directly into my hot pot and just brown them a bit. So we'll do that now. So I've just put some hard spice, as people like to call it, but spice and cinnamon are not the same thing. And some people that sell cinnamon for spice and spice for cinnamon. But if you don't know what cinnamon tastes like, eat a big red chewing gum and come back and you would know that cinnamon and spice are not the same. So we got 2 cinnamon sticks here. Sorry you can't smell them so you can't see difference. And I've also got a few cardamom. So I'm just using the back of my rolling pin just to open up the cardamom pods a little bit, because what I want to do is just make sure that the aroma of them gets out and that the seeds get a little bit crushed. So I'm going to cut that out because it's too noisy, but I'm just going to beat them up a little bit and then I'll be back in a second. Alright, so we just got the cinnamon and the cardamom by themselves inside of the pot here to get a little bit of aromatics going on. And as I told you all, with beef, people like to use cumin, or it's also called jeera. I've got some of that, so I'm going to be using a bit of that. And I didn't remember, oh, I'll show the jeera. It's a ground cumin. Then I didn't remember to put black pepper in my food and my beef, but I think the black pepper will go good, so I'll just throw a little bit of that in directly into the pot here to get all smoky with the cinnamon and the cardamom. Fresh ground black pepper. And as I say, you know, we in the Caribbean, we always got these little packs here, people with their fancy spice jars and thing, but we just got, depending on how much spice you want, sometimes it's nice to just buy a little pack. And I'll tell you something else too, don't buy spices in these big amounts if you're not going to use them, because when they sit down, the quality goes after a while. Another thing I can tell you, you see them same cardamom seeds? You see these here little green cardamom seeds? It's starting to smoke already. Right? You can put this inside of your tea. If you don't have chai tea money, or if you forget and you want to get a little exotic tea, this same cinnamon stick and these same chai seeds, that is a perfect little cup of tea there. A little black pepper in it if you want to. The same sort of thing. Spice it up, spice it up. And that's the cool thing about Indian cooking. Whereas some types of cooking are very simplistic. I just add in the cumin. Whereas some types of cooking is very simplistic and the people want to use as little spices as possible. Indian people always go all out and do such a perfumey mix. And Sailor will tell you we are smelling this already, right?
Yep.
Now you don't want it to burn, you just want it to smell up and smoke up, which is what's happening here. Now suppose now you don't want to be creative, right? You could put a piece of fish, you could put a little rack in here, put a piece of fish in there, smoke that piece of fish. Can you see how it's smoking? The smoke itself, the flavor of the smoke would infuse into the item. And that's what's going to happen here with our beef, right? So I'm just going to stir that. As I said, don't want it burn up, I don't want it burn up, I don't want it burn up. So I can throw a little oil in here quick, right? Not a good set neither, just a little because the beef is going to have some fat. But I would say about 2 tablespoons or so of oil. And I'm using the insert of my pressure cooker. Yes, I have it on the stove top. It's made to take heat. And I'm going to get my beef in here right away. Now you notice I ain't got no potato. I ain't got nothing in here. You know why? Because when I get meat, that I get bare meat. The other things we can add them in. Nobody ain't got no problem with no potato, you know what I'm saying? But if I buy 2 rotis the other day, $20 nowadays for a roti, big man. If I buy a roti for $20, I want certain things out of it. I don't know if people are ready for the things they want out of my roti yet. But that's why it's good when you know how to cook and make your own. That you can balance your salt and all kind of stuff, and you don't have to feel disappointed if something ain't perfect. So we're just stirring this up and dispersing that cumin and those cardamom seeds. And just basically we're gonna just let this bun up a little bit on the bottom, not so it burns, but so it sticks slightly. All of that is flavor that we're going to create because we're going to be pressuring this. That's why I'm using the base of my pressure cooker. So I'm going to remove it from the, you could have always done it in the pressure cooker, but it's easy for y'all to see if I put it on the stove top, right? So we put it in the stove top, and also I can control the heat. So I put a high heat. I'm going to get a little bit more color on this beef. Then I'll show you, and then we'll put it into the pressure cooker, and then we on to our roti skin. Okay guys, so I got maybe 4 cups of flour in here. I know what I'm doing. Remember, I'm not trying to make official roti, but I have done my research on rotis and I know what I'm looking for here, right? And one thing is that I'm just not going to put as much oil or fat in this roti as how I see some people do it, where they're basically painting it all the time with oil. I think it's an unnecessary amount of fat, so I won't be doing that. But I'll show you how I'm doing it. So I'm going to put about a tablespoon of sugar in there, just because I see the Trinidadian people do it on the food blogs that I watch. I guess they try to get a little color in the roti skin, and I can't remember it, but it does something. I can't remember what it does, but they like to put sugar. Then I've got some olive oil here, non-traditional ingredient again, but olive oil is healthier for you, I'm sorry. Then we've got some Clabber Girl baking powder. Now one thing I know is you want a good set of baking powder. So you want at least 1 teaspoon of baking powder for every cup or so of flour. So I'm putting about 2 tablespoons of baking powder in here. And now the last thing that I need, do you know what it is?
Salt.
Salt. Yay!
Yeah, great.
Oh, Taylor, come over here quick and let's show the people the beef. So we're getting a nice lovely smell, and as you can see, these dark bits, that's where the brown cumin that I toasted, those dark bits, that's what that is. Try to go to the side so the light can still get in because it's getting dark. Right? So we're getting a really nice smoky scent from the cumin. And I'm going to be adding some water to this. So the water I'm adding, you know I make the seasoning. So when I make the seasoning, I empty out. The container still has a little bits of seasoning. So I shook it out with some water. I'm going to be pouring that water into here. So I've put some water in, but it's still, the gravy and everything is a bit too thick for pressuring. So I'm gonna put about another cup or half. This here looks perfect how it is. The only thing is that the meat ain't cooked down. But this is how we want it to look basically when it's done. Enough little gravy around it and everything nice and yellow and look cooked, right? But this ain't cooked, this just look cooked. So we're gonna pressure this here so for about, I'm gonna say 15 minutes and check it. It's probably gonna need 20, but we'll do about 15. So I'm gonna add 1 more cup of water to this, just so that the meat has water to cover, but not swimming in water. And that is my secret for pressuring, because people often make mistakes with the pressure cooker. They put too much water, and then there's too much gravy, and then the flavor is stretched out too much. You don't want that. You want just enough water, and then you check it. And then if you need to add more water, you do. Okay? 1 more cup of water being added in, as you see, just basically to the top of the meat. That's how we want our water. When this starts to boil already on this stove, then I'll transfer it to the pressure cooker, and that's going to speed up my cooking time a lot, because the pressure cooker is not going to have to warm up because it's already going to be to 10. Okay? I've done this because I know the pressure cooker is electrical, but it conducts the heat into the pot. I know the pot can take the heat and stuff. If you don't want to risk doing it this way, that is absolutely fine. Just go to one of these settings that is a cook setting on your pressure cooker. Do everything I just did on the pressure cooker and then pressure. I just didn't do it because I want you to be able to see. Otherwise, as you see, I got my pressure cooker in the corner. You wouldn't have been able to see me as well. So that's why I did it this way. So we're going to add some salt to this. Many a good recipe was ruined by a lack of salt. If I get some banana leaves, we can make a conky video again, because I have a conky video on my Rubber Glam Productions page. But I need one for this year on my Chef Glam page, because I'm Chef Glam now. I can't be having all my stuff all over the place. But y'all can check out that old video if you want. Just letting you know. So basically what I did here, I'm just rubbing up the little pellets of the oil so it goes all through the dough. So one of the biggest tricks I realized to make dealing with flour a lot easier is to use warm water. It doesn't have to be hot, but it has to be warm. So I've got some water in here that's fairly warm, a little bit too warm, so I add a little cool water to it, and it just mixes better. So you're gonna add the water gradually, but you don't want to end up with this mere water, especially since I ain't really got no more flour, right? So I don't yeah, one going now, and then all the flour gone, and gotta go down the road and get flour and all kind of things to finish these roti skins. See, so you get it to this kind of shaggy consistency with your fingers like that, and it's easier to mix it, as I said, with warm water. Let me add a little bit more. And you want to create a soft dough, so you don't want to clamp everything together. You want to mix it like how I'm mixing it gradually, so it's still soft. So you see it coming together here nicely now? I just want it to make it come together though, because I don't want the dough to be too hard at all. I don't want it to be too stiff. You do want it to have a stretch to it, but you don't want it to be too stiff. So you get a little flour here to help you, and you need in this in the bowl. I'm not going to show you all, but you're going to do this for about 3 to 5 minutes. Okay guys, so you see it bubbling now, so I would give this, I'm going to leave this on for 15 minutes in the pressure cooker, because I had it here boiling on the stove for a little bit, right? I'm going to be setting it to high. Right, and we're going to wait for that to pressure. Meanwhile, we've got our dough here. I kneaded it a little bit Might need more kneading, I don't know, but it's gonna come out. Now I even used to sell rotis in my young days because I was always had that entrepreneurial spirit. But I still don't like to play that as an expert at something that other people have been doing for hundreds of years. You know what I mean? People always just get offended, so don't bother with that part about expert and all that. But know that it tastes good. Unfortunately, I only have white flour because I would have really rather make like whole wheat roti because that's healthier. And another thing, people like to do paratha rotis, and they do this cone shape where they would put all the butter on here, then they cut they do all the butter across, and then they cut a line here, and then they will roll it up and then form into a cone. I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to be using a different method that I think would be more effective based on my chef training. It might not really be any better, but it's just how I want to do it. And that method is I'm going to be spreading, this is sunflower butter because I don't usually use too much dairy. So we're going to spread that there, and then just like, what you might call it, croissant pastry, we're going to fold it. So look, so you're going to fold it this way, then we're going to fold it again this way, right? Then you're going to fold it this way, and then you're going to fold again this way. See? And then you're going to make sure it all sticks together. Form it into a ball that can be rolled out. But now it's going to have a lot of layers. And I'm just going to let this sit for about 30 minutes. Let it seep into itself. And then we're going to, well, I'm not really going to let it sit for 30 minutes because I ain't got that kind of time. But let it sit for 30 minutes. Let it seep into itself, and then you can roll it out, right? You can make it into, people make it into little balls, and then they roll them out and do what I just did. But I'm not going to be doing all of that. I'm doing a real easy way because this is just for my family at home. So I've already skipped a step basically. Let me just explain it better. So the step that I skipped would be to form it into balls and then put the butter. I didn't do that. I just made it one big ball with butter. That's what I've done. Okay? And I'm just going to let it sit a couple minutes, and then I'm going to roll it out into one big circle. So I rolled out my roti skin into one really big roti. It's still a little bit thick, and I'm going to cut this now into 4. And what I did was I tried not to manipulate it too much. Remember, I put it back into the ball like I told you all. The noise in the background is the pressure cooker letting out the pressure. So we're going to check on the beef soon. But yeah, so I didn't move it from how it was because I want to keep the layers in there. Just because I think overall it'll be good flavor. It's not going to separate like how puff pastry does because it is not being put in the fridge to chill so that the layers can be cold and fully separate. But it is going to separate them a little bit, and it should be delicious. So as I said, this is for home. This is going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy for me. I'm going to cut this in 4. And then I'm going to roll out each piece a little bit more, and then I'm going to cook it. I don't have a tawa at home. Right now I just have a non-stick, a large non-stick frying pan. It's going to work just fine. So I'm going to heat that up now as well. Okay guys, so Sayla's back, my helper. I was doing it without her just now, as you can tell. We're just going to roll this out nice and thin. The reason why I'm even making roti skins, which is something I don't normally make, I would normally make this with some rice, some brown rice or something, is because my kids, I want them to be able to have prepackaged lunch for school. And I don't see the point in trying to get them into a circle because a square folds just fine. So I'm just worried about the size of my pot, and that's all I'm really concerned with. Not making it bigger than the pot can hold, but making it thin enough. And if it's too, and see, I'm not turning it all over the place. All right. Here we go. And now I can just stretch it out. Stretch it out so it doesn't lose the thinness. And while I'm stretching it, I'm taking it straight to the pot. Now what some people like to do is just continue to brush this with oil. I'm sure a yummy idea, or butter. It's a yummy idea, but it's unnecessary. And this is going to be yummy enough just how it is. So while this cooks, I'm going to turn it low, medium low. I'm going to go, and you can see the little bubbles forming that is cooking. I'm going to go and start rolling out the others. So see you at the finish line. Basically, we're going to let this go about 1 minute, and then we're going to turn it. See the bubbles there forming? You can look at it on the other side and see. Don't try this at home, folks. My hand is accustomed to hot things. There we go. Roti skin is looking good on both sides. As I said, how some people do it, they would have brushed it with oil on both sides and almost like slightly fried it. I'm going to put it in a towel here. And as I said, I'm using some of the techniques that I know people use for roti skin, but not all of them. So I'm just going to wrap this up, and then I'm just going to beat it up just a little bit. There's a type of roti in Trinidad, my favorite, called bus up shut. It's paratha roti, and it's people like clap it together a bit. I'm not going to do all of that. I just want to lighten it up a little bit, and then I'm going to just leave this and put it on a plate. Another one in. So Sailor says she wanted it brush on with the butter bowl. So we're doing this one here.
Thank you.
She's very slim right now. She doesn't know the pressures. Just put a little bit of butter on both sides here. Now let's just check on our curry. Woo! It's smelling nice. So you see how it looking? It looking like it tasting good, but the meat still look a little bit stiffer than I want. If I press it here on the side, you can see it's not mashing up how I want. So I'm going to take out a little piece to try it, and I'm going to put it back on for another 10 minutes to pressure. So just bear with me, I'm coming right back. So guys, I just tried the meat. It's really soft. I don't know where that really come from. It's really soft, and it tasting good. It's not as hard as I thought it was, but because it's not quite disintegrating, I'm going to leave it for a couple more minutes. But it is definitely edible and tasting lovely. Okay guys, in addition to the things that I was showing you, I also have some pumpkin and some potato. Both of them I will be adding some curry to, and I've already added a little salt. So I'm just going to drain them, add some curry powder, and leave them like that. Also adding a little bit of oil. Okay guys, so here we have it. Now this is a real simple roti skin. Remember, I told you I skipped a step, and also I didn't even try to roll it in circles. I just cut it into 4 big pieces. But look, I've created layers because of how I put the fat in it. So it's nice and soft. It has layers. Sailor, what did you think of it?
Tasted good.
Isn't good? So there's a real fast version of roti, but way better than buying that frozen one in the supermarket, because sometimes that frozen one don't even got no salt and it don't really taste like nothing. Next, I also made some potato, which, as I told you, I boiled the potato till it was soft. Then I just added some butter and a little bit of curry, some butter and some curry powder, some pumpkin, same thing. And now I'm about to make some bhaji. Some people call it rabbit food, some people call it, Jamaicans call it callaloo. And I've already got my seasoning, so basically I'm just going to cut up this, put the seasoning in it, and cook it down until it's nice and soft, and that's it. So I don't need to show you how to do that. That's easy peasy lemon squeezy. And last but least, I took our meat out the pressure cooker. It's all, sorry. Last but most, I took our beef out of the pressure cooker. But you see we still got a lot of liquid here, and though it's flavorful, it does want a little salt. But instead of adding salt, I'm just going to get rid of some of this liquid by just letting this boil on a high heat now, but it's basically done. So you see if I had put too much water inside of this pressure cooker, what I would have been left with? Far too much liquid, because look, I only put just the cover and there's still a lot of liquid in here. So we're going to give this a couple more minutes and let that liquid come out while the bhaji cooks as well. Remember I told you all about the flavored pepper, so I added one more. It's cut up right there. And I'm just going to let a little, I used some of the water from the pumpkin that I boiled in here. And I'm just going to let the water come out a little bit, and then we are all finished. And I almost forgot, but just to finish it off, curry is always nice with a little tomato. So I added just a little tomato sauce here at the very end. It's just going to add some more depth of flavor. It's not a must-have ingredient, but it's a good ingredient. But because tomatoes are scarce right now, I just use a little bit of tomato sauce. I don't want to use ketchup because ketchup has a sweetness to it, and that's not what I'm going for. I'm going to get the low sweetness from the pumpkin. But I just want to thank you for watching, for always supporting the things I do. I want to invite you down to my pop-up on Friday or Saturday, and I'll be in touch. So enjoy. I hope you try this recipe. Well, not recipe, this method. It was very simple. The biggest thing is just to take your time and do it. And here we have, it took me about an hour and a half, I think, to do everything, and that's because I was filming as well. The cook time for the meat was about 35 minutes with the pressure cooker, and also on the stove, about 20 minutes, 22 or so minutes in the pressure cooker, and the rest of the time just on the stove where I was browning it and so on. The cook time for this is about 5 to 8 minutes, and the cook time for the potato and the pumpkin each was probably about the same as from when it starts boiling, maybe about 8 minutes just till it gets tender. And now I'm going to show you everything together. It's going to look so yummy, as my little girl would say.